Elimination Chamber is in the books, and the WrestleMania 40 card is really starting to take shape. All that and more right now on Wrestling with Fans. What is good, everyone, and welcome to this week's edition of the Wrestling with Fans podcast. It's a pro wrestling podcast created by fans for fans from a fan's perspective. My name is Kyle. This is episode 242. It is the Elimination Chamber review, and we're going to talk about the Elimination Chamber from this past Saturday morning, and then we're going to look at the potential WrestleMania shakeup. But first, question of the week, what were your thoughts on Elimination Chamber? Did you like it? Did you not like it? What was your favorite match? What was your favorite moment? Sound off in the comments below if you're watching on YouTube. And of course, like and subscribe if you would. It would really help us out. It's free to do. So I really appreciate that, guys. And if you're listening to the audio version, again, thank you for downloading the podcast. Head over to facebook.com/wrestling with fans and comment on the post there. After you Hulk smash that like button, let me know what your thoughts are on Elimination Chamber from this past weekend. And guys, I am super excited. We are on the road to WrestleMania. There's like 39 days left until WrestleMania, and the card is really starting to take shape. But before we dive into all that, let's get into the Elimination Chamber itself. It took place this past Saturday morning for us here on the East Coast. It was an early morning. It was an early morning. I normally wake up at 4 a.m. anyway to go to work. My alarm goes off at 4 a.m. So Saturday morning, I woke up at 5:15. Excuse me, came downstairs, fed the cats, grabbed a cup of coffee, sat down in front of the TV at about 5:18, 5:20, something like that, right as the match was getting underway. And that was the women's Elimination Chamber match. Now, I went back and had to rewatch the pre-show match for the women's tag titles, the Kabuki Warriors defeating Candice LeRae and Indy Hartwell via pinfall. The match was okay. It was nice to see Indy actually get a match in her home country, just like Rhea Ripley. Of course, Indy is also Australian. Bronson Reed, the only Australian member of the roster not to be featured on the card. But as it turns out, I believe his wife or girlfriend just recently had a baby, and he was there for her. So congratulations to Bronson Reed on that awesome milestone in your life. And hopefully WWE will be back soon to Australia again and be able to get big Bronson Reed on the card. The one cool thing I wanted to point out, at least the coolest thing to me, with a 7-month-old myself, Candice LeRae in a very chili-inspired ring gear from the TV show Bluey. If you have kids, you know what Bluey is. And if you know Bluey is, you know how cool that was. So kudos to Candice for such a cool little nod there to chili from the show Bluey. Of course, it is an Australian-based TV show. And if you don't know Bluey, if you don't have kids, then go on Disney Plus and check it out. It's a show made for adults, but geared towards kids. That's my thoughts on it. I love Bluey. The wife and I will actually sit down and watch it, and our little girl also, as soon as the theme song comes on, she gets so into it. But I don't want to make this a Bluey podcast. We're here to talk about the Elimination Chamber. Now, I don't want to spend a lot of time on these matches just because I'm recording this late. I'm recording this on Tuesday the 27th. The show normally drops on Mondays. It's going to drop on Wednesday this week. Had some things going on this weekend and a busy day yesterday that it hasn't allowed me to sit down in front of the camera and microphone to record this show. But here I am on Tuesday evening recording it after I get off of work. So I don't want to spend a lot of time on the details. I'm just going to point out some highlights for me from this event. And just for the women's Elimination Chamber, I thought it was absolutely amazing. It went 32 minutes and 15 seconds. Of course, the man, Becky Lynch, coming out on top, punching her ticket to WrestleMania to take on Rhea Ripley, which is the match we all pretty much expected. They have been teasing it heavily for the last couple weeks, including a face-off at the presser event, the WrestleMania presser event just a couple weeks ago. So we all kind of knew this is where it was headed. And even though it was a little predictable, I'm perfectly fine with it because I thought the match was absolutely amazing. And for me personally, and I know a lot of others out there think this way, Tiffany Stratton came off as a star. She came off as a fucking star. She was given a lot of time. Even though she was the second person eliminated, she was given plenty of time. I mean, she didn't get eliminated until almost 23 minutes into the match, and the match only went 32 minutes. So she was given a lot of time. You know, the big dive off the top of the pod, being able to hit some great moves. You know, the crowd was really, really into Tiffany Stratton. And I've said this since her NXT feud with Becky Lynch. She has superstar potential. She could be a top draw for the women's division, the next generation of great, talented women's wrestlers to come out of NXT. And it all kind of started with Rhea Ripley for this next generation. You know, that's not taking anything away from the Charlottes, the Beckys, the Baileys, the Sasha Banks, Mercedes Moné, however you like to refer to her. That was like that first big class of top women's wrestlers. You know, Asuka has come through there. Kairi, Io have all come through there. So I know I'm going to forget some people. Raquel Gonzalez, or Raquel Rodriguez, as she is now known. But really, it's been Rhea, and then the next big, real huge superstar to come out, I think, is going to be Tiffany Stratton. And that's not taking any away from any of the other women I mentioned, because Asuka, obviously, main eventing a lot of women's, you know, multiple time women's champion. You know, a lot of the other ladies also big women's champions. But, you know, I think Tiffany has that something that, not saying the other ladies don't have, but she just has it in excess. And I think that's going to allow her to, you know, potentially main event pay-per-views, main event WrestleManias in the future. I think she just has everything you want in a top-tier women's star, top-tier star in general. And I just thought it was amazing. I've seen a lot of criticism of the finish of the match, and because it kind of went so fast, but to be perfectly honest, I really liked the finish. We got down to Bianca, Liv, and Becky, and you had 2 eliminations within like 5 seconds, and I thought it was really good. It was very unpredictable. You know, we got down to Liv pins Bianca, which I thought was kind of surprising. I figured it would come down to Becky and Bianca, to be perfectly honest. But, you know, Liv picking up the pin on Bianca, only to turn around, get caught with a manhandle slam, and Becky pins her just a few seconds later. I liked it. They didn't drag on the ending too much. It got down to the 3, you know, arguably the biggest names in the match. And I really enjoyed the finish. I thought it was good. It was quick. It was unpredictable. Even though the winner was a little predictable. But again, I said that's fine. It's not always, at least for me, it's not always about the final destination. It's how you get there. And I thought they told a great story throughout the match. All the ladies got plenty of time to be spotlighted. The one thing I'll say about Raquel Rodriguez, I'm so glad she's back after dealing with some medical issues. And if you follow her on social media, you kind of know where I'm going with this, with the rashes. I can't remember the name of the disease off the top of my head, and I don't feel like looking it up. But, you know, if you follow her on social media or follow, you know, things online, you know what she's dealing with. And I think they need to do something else with her, because as of right now, the entirety of Raquel Rodriguez's, easy for me to say, gimmick is she smiles and she has back muscles. That's really about it. Her stuff in NXT was much better when she was a heel. She is a tall, muscular woman. You know, she's well defined, you know, comparatively to a lot of the other women. I think she would be more suited to be a heel. So I'm hoping Triple H and the creative team come up with something, because to be perfectly honest, at least for me, and I think, you know, I'm not alone in this thought process, that what they're doing with her now just isn't quite working. But hopefully, you know, she has a bright future ahead of her, because I want to say she's fairly young. She's only 33, so I mean, she still has a lot of time ahead of her. And speaking of young, just for reference, Tiffany Stratton is only 24 years old, and she is this good, this young. And I am just so excited to see what the future holds for her, because then you have someone like Rhea Ripley, who's only 27. So, I mean, the next generation of WWE ladies, you know, we're in good hands in the future. You know, Bianca's up there. I don't want to say up there, but, you know, she's 34. Becky is 37, so she's, I don't say on the older side because that's not really the case. That's not really what I mean, but comparatively to some of the others, and Liv Morgan's 29, so you have 3 stars that you could potentially have around for another decade or more, all in the mix at the top of their game. And Naomi also in the match, 36 years old, and let's just highlight the other ladies on the card here. Nia, 39. So I mean, she's, I want to say on the older side because the ladies are wrestling a lot longer. Wrestlers in general are wrestling a lot longer. Because, you have Asuka, who's 42, still at the top of her game. Kairi Sane, 35. So she's kind of in the middle there. Candice LeRae is... I don't see an age for her on her Wikipedia. It doesn't have an age. I imagine she's probably like early to mid-30s, maybe. And then Indy Hartwell, 27. So another youngin who's come up through NXT. So the future's bright for the ladies. I love the opening match. A lot of fun. But speaking of loving matches, the next match for the tag team titles, the Judgment Day taking on the New Catch Republic, Pete Dunne and Tyler Bate. And I've said it before, I'm so glad Tyler Bate is on the main roster, and so glad that Pete Dunne is back to being Pete Dunne and is no longer Butch. This match goes just shy of 17 and a half minutes with the Judgment Day picking up the win. And what I love about the New Catch Republic, what I love about Pete Dunne and Tyler Bate is they're kind of bringing in a new style of tag wrestling. I don't want to say new as in we've never seen it before, but on the main roster, they're kind of bringing in this British strong style, very showmany, because, Pete Dunne has a very British strong style. Tyler Bate can work the British strong style, but has this charisma about him and the way he moves and the flashy moves. But it's not to like indie-rific overselling, flippy shit kind of stuff. It's almost all of the movement he makes is done for a reason. It's done on a purpose. And that's what I really like about Tyler Bate, and that's what I really like about the potential this tag team has, because there are so many good tag teams in WWE right now. And I think the future could be big. I think we could see, a tag team title run in the future for the New Catch Republic. But a great match, Judgment Day. Finn Balor and Damian Priest retaining. Senior Money in the Bank still having the briefcase. Then we move on to the men's Elimination Chamber. It goes just shy of 37 minutes. Drew McIntyre coming out on top. The order of elimination, Bobby Lashley eliminated by Drew. LA Knight eliminated by Drew. Kevin Owens and Logan Paul both eliminated by Randy Orton. And then Drew eliminating Randy Orton. Again, the match goes 36-55. And again, it was very predictable. They had not really giving us much option or many other options of who could potentially win this match. Yeah, you could have done something LA Knight and Seth Rollins, KO and Seth, Logan Paul and Seth, Randy Orton and Seth. But the main focus on Raw lately has kind of been, outside of Cody and Seth and the Bloodline, has been Drew and Punk and Drew and Seth. Drew's kind of had a split, and he's still kind of got a split thing going on, but he's still kind of keeping the heat alive with CM Punk, while also been going at Seth Rollins. Seth has beat him, I think, like 2 or 3 times already in the past year for the title. But this is a different Drew McIntyre. And I think I said this last week or the week before. This is the best version of Drew McIntyre. I absolutely love this version of Drew. And he's, if you don't follow him on Twitter, following him on X, you're missing out. He is doing some absolutely crazy stuff on social media these days, and I absolutely love it. And I thought the match itself was pretty good. I thought the women was a little bit better, to be perfectly honest. However, it was just something different. You had a lot of story played out and a lot of things, to set up for WrestleMania, which is what I want to talk about here in a little bit after I'm done with Elimination Chamber. But they really set up a lot of stuff for, WrestleMania with this match. AJ Styles getting involved in attacking LA Knight, which presumably we're going to see that match. Kevin Owens and Logan Paul had a story throughout where Logan Paul would taunt Kevin Owens from inside the pod. if you haven't seen the videos on TikTok or social media of Logan Paul and his pod drawing on the pod before he was entered in at number 4, you got to go check him out. It was hilarious stuff. I thought maybe we would see KO and Logan Paul continue this feud, but at the end of the match, Logan's kind of celebrating. He's got the knucks out and then literally gets hit with an RKO from out of nowhere to be eliminated by Randy Orton, only for Randy to eat a Claymore and get eliminated by Drew McIntyre, winning the match. Again, it was a great match. I don't know if it was up there with one of the best of the Elimination Chambers that we've seen, but it was pretty good. Again, I enjoyed the women's a little bit more, just me personally. I did think the men's match went a little too long, and but yeah, overall, just a really fun match. Really enjoyed it. And then we get to the main event. Nia Jax going one-on-one with Rhea Ripley for the Women's World Championship. Rhea returning home to Australia, got a huge reaction. Totally the babyface. I thought this was a great match and a great choice to actually main event the show. At one point, I thought maybe they would have the men's match main event, but I'm really glad they went with Rhea and Nia. Rhea definitely earned the right to main event in her home country. And I just want to say that, we all know Rhea's great. We all know Rhea's, at the top of her game right now. She's going to be facing Becky Lynch at WrestleMania in a marquee match. She had Charlotte last year, and then she's got Becky this year. So, what does that say about Rhea Ripley? That she's main eventing, she's wrestling in back-to-back WrestleManias, arguably the 2 greatest women's wrestlers of all time. At least of this generation for sure. Arguably all time. But I want to give kudos to Nia Jax, because you're only as good as your opponent. And I have been critical, as many have, about Nia Jax in the past. With the hurting wrestlers, the my whole thing. I don't know what they've done or who's working with Nia or who worked with her in her time away. But man, this is the best version of Nia Jax we've gotten. She's believable. She's working great matches in the ring. The match she had with Becky a while back was great. We're going to get another match next week on Raw, which we'll touch on here in a bit. But I thought, Nia did amazing in her role as a heel. Not only was she, it reminded me of like old school 80s heel work. She would do some moves, keep Rhea down, taunt the crowd. She really got the crowd involved. And I think, and especially in Rhea's home country, that was the key, was to get the crowd into this match. And I really, really enjoyed it. And I thought it was really awesome that Rhea was able to get her in the Riptide. It wasn't the highest Riptide I've ever seen, but she got her up. So again, kudos to Nia Jax for not only being, much improved in this run, but also putting on a great match and being a great opponent for Rhea. So I'll give credit where credit is due. Again, you're only as good as your opponent, and Nia Jax was excellent in this match. Rhea getting the big celebration. Again, a lot of fun. Great match. Great main event. Overall, I thought it was a great show. I'd give it a solid B+. It was a lot of fun to watch. Again, I woke up early and watched it live. Had some things around the house, which I didn't get to catch every second the first time around, but later in the afternoon, Jen and I sat down and watched it so she could enjoy Elimination Chamber, and it was just as good the second time around. I really enjoyed and got to see all the little details that I missed the first time around, but overall, awesome show. Again, I give it a solid B+. But again, the road to WrestleMania is kicking into overdrive. Be back in just a second to talk about Monday Night Raw and where WrestleMania is headed right here on Wrestling with Fans. What's up, guys? Kyle here from Wrestling with Fans. And if you want to help support the show and the channel, make sure you click that subscribe button down below and comment below what your thoughts are on this week's podcast. I would love to hear from you. Do a listener, viewer, mailbag section where I can answer questions and read comments and everything on the next week's show. So do that as well. Of course, you can follow us on Facebook at facebook.com/Wrestling with Fans. Hulk smash the like button over there. That's where we post all of our stuff on social media. Follow on Instagram at Wrestling with Fans. Follow on TikTok at Wrestling with Fans. And if you have questions or anything just in the middle of the week, you can always shoot me an email, wwfshow@gmail.com. Again, that's wwfshow@gmail.com. It's coming back in. Let's quickly run down Monday Night Raw. At least a couple points from Monday Night Raw. The first match, we get Sammy and Shinsuke. Of course, Sammy looking for a path to WrestleMania. And then there was some backstage stuff later in the night with Gunther before he came out for his promo. We could be seeing Sami Zayn going against Gunther for the Intercontinental title. I know a lot of people were maybe thinking Braun Breaker because it was supposedly originally going to be Brock Lesnar, but with everything going on with the lawsuit, looks like that is obviously out the window. So we may be seeing Sami Zayn. I don't know what they do with some of the other guys on the roster, but it looks like we may see Sami Zayn and Gunther for the Intercontinental Championship unless they, decide to move Braun over. But it seems like he's on SmackDown. So we kind of pointless to move him over. We got an awesome street fight. And I just want to say it's about time that Imperium got a nice win. They are Gunther's heaters, and they haven't. I don't feel that they have been protected enough to be viable threats as his henchmen. So it's nice to see them pick up the win over the New Day. I mean, the New Day is gonna New Day. They are who they are. They are, one of the greatest tag teams ever in WWE, and it's nice to see Imperium get a big win over the New Day to kind of, I want to say cement or solidify, but to kind of just maybe elevate them up just a little bit and protect them just a little bit. I guess we jump back to, we got the opening promo with Rhea, who's interrupted by Becky. Obviously, we had that match for WrestleMania. Then Becky was attacked by Nia Jax afterwards, which sets up a match next week with Becky and Nia. I've seen some people say, oh, Becky's got to get her win back. It's a story that they've been telling for a while. They touched on it, late last year with Nia picking up that big win against Becky. Or was it earlier this year? I don't know. Time just beyond me anymore. Picked up the win over Becky to kind of position her against Rhea. Now it looks like they're going to have a rematch and, head into WrestleMania. The other thing I want to touch on, and I thought it was interesting, the Drew McIntyre promo, come out doing the CM Punk seating. Seth comes out, and Seth said something interesting, and I'm really curious why they had him say this line, where he's talking about he wants to take out the bloodline before WrestleMania. There's no PLEs before WrestleMania, so I don't know what that line is for, because I can't imagine they would drop that line like Seth and Cody are going to try to take out the bloodline before WrestleMania and not deliver on it. Just one last thing I want to touch on, I forgot from Elimination Chamber. Cody and Seth were on the Grayson Waller effect. Cody straight up calls out The Rock, which again will play into Monday. So Cody's challenged The Rock anytime, anywhere. Seth has said they want to take out the bloodline before WrestleMania. So there's a lot of stuff that we could see over the next 5 weeks before WrestleMania. And I don't know where the story's going, but I am excited to see what WWE delivers for us here on the road to WrestleMania. Cody, of course, defeats Grayson Waller in the main event in a pretty quick match. And then Paul Heyman comes out. At first asks Cody to, take the challenge back. Then demand says, or else. He had 3. I'm assuming they're just local guys. He said they were suspended NYPD officers, but yeah, that just didn't really make sense, obviously. Rock's going to be on SmackDown this week and apparently the next 3 weeks. I would assume that Cody's probably going to show up. I assume we're going to get something. Because there's still the rumor that we could see, the tag match at WrestleMania. Seth and Cody versus Rock and Roman night 1. Then we'd get Seth and Drew, and then Cody and Roman main eventing night 2. There's a lot of story that they need to tell in the next 5 weeks heading into WrestleMania to get there. And I'm really, really curious if they are going to be able to get all that in. Will The Rock be around enough to tell the story? Over 3 weeks, they can do a lot in 3 weeks on SmackDown. So I'm really curious what they're going to do, and if would they tease that without delivering? Is it a tease for later in the year? Is it a tease for, pre-WrestleMania? Is it a tease for WrestleMania? Like, I really don't know. And I really like the fact that I have no clue what exactly is going on. Because so many times in the past, you get the card for WrestleMania so early, and it's kind of like not really a lot to look forward to. Well, there's still a lot of story to tell between now and WrestleMania. And I think WWE is going to take us on a ride, and I'm here for it. I am here for it. But speaking of WrestleMania, the official card, of course, we have a lot of stuff that I've already talked about, matches that we could see. But we currently have 4 matches confirmed for WrestleMania 40. The main event, which I assume will close night 2, Roman Reigns defending the undisputed WWE Universal Championship against Cody Rhodes. We have Seth freaking Rollins defending the World Heavyweight Championship against Drew McIntyre. Io Sky defending the WWE Women's Championship against Bayley. And we now know Rhea Ripley will defend the Women's World Championship against the man Becky Lynch. So the big 4 title matches are locked in and set. And again, it looks like we might see Logan and Randy for the US title. It looks like we were going to potentially see Gunther versus Sami Zayn for the IC title. LA Knight and AJ Styles kind of seems to be on the books now. Could we see a Judgment Day versus Awesome Truth and DIY? Or maybe just Awesome Truth versus Balor and Priest for the tag titles at Mania. There's a lot of different combinations they could do there. They could do JD and Dom versus DIY. There's a lot of combinations that are starting to build stories with there. So the next few weeks are going to be exciting. It's going to be a lot of fun to watch, and I am here for it. And I hope you guys are going to join me on that journey. If you made it this far into the video, thank you very much. If you made it far into the podcast, thank you very much. If you have enjoyed it so far, make sure you subscribe and like. And again, comment down below what your thoughts on Elimination Chamber were and what matches you're looking forward to WrestleMania. What matches have not been announced that you would like to see on the WrestleMania 40 card? Because you figure we're going to get another dozen matches. You figure anywhere between 12 and 16 matches between the 2 nights. And we have 4 right now confirmed. So there's a lot of stuff still out there in the WWE universe, as they like to say, to set up for WrestleMania. Again, links to all the social medias are in the video description down below. Or again, if you're listening to the audio, they are in the show notes in your podcast app. So make sure you check out and follow us across social media. But that's going to do it for this week's episode, guys. Thank you all so much for watching. Thank you all so much for listening. We'll see you next time right here on Wrestling with Fans.